Today, I want us to consider the article Paul T.P. Wong wrote. It's entitled Positive Psychology 2.0 Towards a Balanced Interactive Model of the Good Life. So, basically, what we're going to do in this article is to establish the relationship the author himself establishes on the relationship between positive psychology 2.0 and the good life, its concept of the good life. And in the abstract of the paper, Professor Wong writes, this paper first describes the growing pains and challenges of the positive psychology, PP, movement, and identifies the four pillars of the good life as meaning. So there are four pillars of the good life: virtue, resilience, and well-being, which are all shaped by culture. So this is very important. Whatever we talk, whenever we think about the good life, according to the professor, whether we're talking about ethical virtues or moral virtues or intellectual virtues, if we want to go back to Aristotle's article, book on ethics and the good life, it's important for us to understand uh, those principles are first principles, as Aristotle calls them, are shaped by our culture, the culture in which we live. So the cultural context that shapes our thinking, our upbringing, and so forth. So the first thing that he does in the article, he introduces three issues that characterize the second wave of PP. So the second wave of positive psychology. And the first one concerns the need for a comprehensive taxonomy of PP. So he does an evaluation of that. Though the second issue that he addresses involves the hypothesis that meaning orientation and happiness orientation represent two different visions of the good life. So here he associates the good life with the concept of meaning and with the concept of happiness. So this is very important, right? So then he discusses some practical implications as the idea of the good life is associated with life meaning and happiness. So then he reviews or he explores the relationship between meaning and virtue as they relate to eudaimonia. Remember that term that we used several weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So the third issue he argues that concerns with a dual system model, and he uses it as a way to integrate the complex relationship, the complex interactions between negative and positive psychology. Okay, and of course, in his article, he concludes that PP 2.0, positive psychology, is characterized by a balanced, interactive, meaning-centered, and cross-cultural perspective. So when we think about the good life from the perspective of Paul T.P. Wong, we have to be concerned, at least we have to integrate the impact of positive psychology and the way we frame the good life. And Wrong goes a little bit further by stating that the idea of the good life should be a balanced life. It's a life that is meaning centered. So it's a life full of value. It's a life, everything that you do has meaning. And then finally, he argues that, okay, we should understand how different cultures perceive the good life and how different culture construct meaning and how different cultures explore, you know, what the good life entails. Okay, so and what is positive psychology? You may have taken psychology before, but I want to go with some notes from the article itself and from other sources that I have reviewed to help you. So, the idea of positive psychology or positive thoughts, positive psychology is a scientific study, exploration of what makes life worth living or what makes life meaningful. So when we're talking about positive psychology, we're talking about meanings that we ascribe to different things that we do, different relationships, different events, or anything, okay, that we interact with, anything that has an impact on our lives. So positive psychology focuses on three areas in our lives. Focuses on strength, happiness, and positive emotions, right? So when we think about the good life, the good life, we have to from a positive psychology perspective, we have to consider our strengths. Okay, what is it that we do well in life, and how these various strengths in our life are connected to happiness. Okay, and because psychology is important to the process of our brain cells or to our mental process. So positive emotions are very important, are critical in the way we construct the good life, even our perception on the good life. So early positive psychologists, such as Martin Seligman, promoted three things. He promoted life satisfaction, optimism. So, in other words, we have to satisfy in the little things that we have, whatever that we own, we possess, or we acquire, they should be enough in that sense. And optimism is to have an optimistic outlook about life, okay? Not to be cynical, not to be hopeless, but to cultivate a positive outcome, what he calls optimism in life. Gratitude is very important. Gratitude is very important. We have to be grateful. We have to be appreciative for everything that we have in life, even the little things that we take for granted. Okay. But Wrong himself makes advances a critique of positive psychology 1.0. So this is critical for us to understand where he's going in this article and what his perspectives are on the subject matter. Not just perspective with no S and the singular, but perspective with an S, okay? So he believes psychology 1.0 is too one-sided. So what does that mean? So positive psychology 1.0 does not focus on the complexities of life, because life is very complex, and human life is full of complexities and paradoxes. So he's arguing that, okay, positive psychology 2.0 focuses too much on pleasure and feeling good. Okay. So everything we do, okay, we have to find pleasure and feeling good. So he's making an argument against the first this first aspect of positive psychology 1.0. Another important critique he makes, he says that positive psychology 1.0 somewhat undermines the significance of trauma, the significance of life's challenges